Why is this doing this? Oh my God. Okay, I am going to try this again. Hopefully everybody is back. I'm back. I had to do it a different way than normal, so we'll see what happens. It looks like, I don't know if it came up on the same feed or if it started a new one. You know, every time I think I've got something figured out, it changes. I thought this was going to be the easy way to do it. But anyway, good evening, everyone, again. All right, I am by myself tonight. So just keep that in mind. So if there's questions I miss, unfortunately, for whatever reason, I cannot see the comments after we are live. So they go away, even though I've told in my settings for them to be there, it's not there. So smile, it'll be fine. I hope so. Can you see the stress? I thought I'd be festive, put my ornaments behind me tonight to get started. Okay. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat. I'll try to catch them as you put them in there. Be sure and like, subscribe, ring that bell so you know when I've got videos coming or I upload a video, and share with your friends. Okay. I'd appreciate that. All right, I'm going to switch my cameras and let's get started, okay? All right, put my keyboard away. Hopefully everybody can hear me all right. So we're going to talk about stamping. Something came up in a question from someone yesterday, I think it was, and they were confused because some of the earlier videos that I have out there say that you can't stamp with the color concentrates directly on glass, and my labels are awful. Here's a better one. So a color concentrate, okay? These are the ceramic translucent underglazes. So you could do the same technique on your ceramics if you're a clay person, okay? You do need to shake them well because they are thixotropic, or they congeal in the bottle when they sit still. So you shake them, you hear that? And they liquefy before you use them, okay? You can use them directly on glass now. Before, I have an older video from probably 4 years ago, maybe, where I showed you how to make an ink pad by taking a fan brush and putting the concentrate out, and then you would take your stamp and stamp into it and then go to your glass. Well, since then, we have discovered that if you use these little pouncers, and they come in all different colors that's out there on the market, there's even black ones, okay? You can use these to apply the product to the stamp and you get a nice impression, okay? If you etch the glass, so that video is out there with the ink pad if you want to do that. It's great for ceramics, but you can also use the rollers that we have, okay? So you can apply the color with this and roll over the top of your stamp to apply the product, okay? Or you can take the pouncer and you can pounce it on. Okay, that's with color concentrates or the designers. Let me get a package of the designers out. So, and I have several different stamping videos, but I just wanted to come on and clarify. So the designers are a powder form. They are non-enamel. They do have to be capped. The color concentrates are a non-enamel also. So they need to be capped. What cap means is you need to put a clear over it, whether you sift clear or whether you cap it with a full sheet of clear, okay? They are not food safe if they're not covered. And the designers have to be covered on the first firing, or you can literally wipe them off, okay? So keep that in mind. Is that a foam roller or a hard plastic roller? is what Lynn is asking. It's a sponge, so it's a soft, it's just like the sponge on the sticks, just a different density. Okay. Could you do it with a brayer? You're thinking of what's called a brayer. And I'm not sure that I have one of those here. I don't think I do. You could do it with that also, whatever works for you. Absolutely. With some of the different techniques out there, depending on the medium that you use, like if I'm using the North Star technique, she uses a different type of medium with the enamels, and a hard brayer is what they use to do that application. Yes. Don't you just love that spell check when it just totally messes up what you're trying to say? I know, Lynn, don't worry about it. Okay, so these are all color concentrates, and I'm going to turn it in the light so that you can see that. And I know there's some light reflecting, but there is, if you look at the top up here, there's some texture. See on those dots? The heavier it's applied, I did sift over the top. This is on white glass, and all I did was put a piece of clear behind it to make my 6mm. So if you sift over the top of this, then it's going to be food safe. But you can see it looks almost like little crystals. Okay, that's not. It just needs more clear over it. I did not re-sift over this because I wanted to be able to show people. And if it's a decorative piece, I have a stand for this, so it stands up in it at the shows, and it's fine like that. But if you were going to do it on a food surface, then put it between or sift over it really generously with your clear powdered frit. Powdered frit is what you need to use. Okay. And then these are all concentrates to fill in. I'll show you a little bit of that on some of the pieces that we're going to do tonight. Okay. This is stamping on glass. This piece is in one of the videos that I did years back, and I did etch it, but I stamped and then I painted on top using the semi brush or round. You can gently paint in a thin coat over the top. Okay, this was a thin down, this was white glass to start with, and then I put a piece of clear over it. Now I sift between. Can you see? You still get a few little bubbles. This is a non-enamel, so you're going to get a few of those every now and then. But if you sift over, and I meant to bring my clear powdered in here and my sifter to show you, and I didn't do it. I'll have to just do a video and upload it. Sift all over the whole piece. And then you want to sift around the edges one more time. That raises the edges up so the center can fall first, and then squeeze out all the air pockets. And when you've got the little granules of the powdered frit in there, that leaves little valleys for that air to escape out of there, because these are non-enamels. They're not made for glass. They're made for ceramics. So you have to treat them a little differently. If you're in our closed Facebook group for the glass paints, CFE, Glass Color Artist, there is a firing schedule in there. There's also PDFs on the website under the color concentrates or CC enhancer page. Okay, so you can find those there. So this is kind of cool. I like this look. You can also use them to stamp on thin fire. Okay, does it break? It can. I did get a little bit of break here, but the colors are really vibrant. They're pretty much what you see in the bottle. Like for instance, there's the cerulean. Okay, so it had one thin coat all over. I stamped, put one thin coat all over, and then I added a second coat in the middle. And you can see it's pretty true to what's in the bottle. Okay, red stay red, which is nice. Okay, any questions about that? And I'm going to kind of demo a little bit of everything tonight. Okay, here is another stamp. So this is mostly the thin fire. You can use papyrus also. The thin fire, and I don't know if I can angle it enough you can see it. Do you see how it kind of has a little bit of a shimmer to it? It's almost like an opal. That is just the thin fire itself. There is nothing in that background. All I did was stamp, paint in the stamps, add some dots, put it between glass. And there is specific instructions as far as firing this between glass. You have to add little stringers on the corners and on the sides. Just it needs to vent, because that paper, remember, it turns black when it fires. When we put it under our glass to fire, it's going to do the same thing in there. And if you don't leave enough venting and hold in certain areas, you'll get this black bubble in the middle. So keep that in mind, and don't think you're going to try to cut corners. You really need to follow those firing instructions. Okay. There's another one using the thin fire, just using a different. So I matched, this is the LE 003 Aqua Splash to match my glass. And I use 96 COE most of the time, unless I'm teaching at a shop that uses 90. Here again, you can kind of see the texture, on the green dots up here. So it needs a little bit more frit on those areas. So this was stamped and then filled in. And then I made my bottom piece of glass a 1/4 of an inch larger just to frame it. And I turned this over earlier and saw this. So I demoed on the bottom of this piece. And don't think about, this has got some painting on the back side, stamped on the front. And then I used French vanilla, I think it was, and some reactive glass. So think about intermixing some painted pieces with frit pieces, or maybe it's a section in the middle of a dish and you've got other pieces of glass, you know, on the ends, the sides. In other words, use it as a part sheet. It works really great for that. Okay. Thank you, Lynn. They're just some fun, different applications that maybe you wouldn't think about, you know, adding that. You think, oh, I can just paint on it and that's all I can do. No, you could put frit on the top. You could put yellow frit in the center. You know, your imagination is your limitation, basically. Okay. So keep that in mind. All right. So let's get rid of some of these. I leave that there. So what I did earlier was I was testing out a bunch of stamps, because the stamp does make a difference. It really does. Okay. So this is like a harder, and it may be because it's older. I don't know. This was on clearance somewhere. It's a Stampabilities stamp. So at one of the hobby and craft stores. And I don't know what this one is. I don't think it even says. Anyway, so different consistency of the rubber. I mean, some of it seems to be harder, a little bit softer, a little bit softer. Always, if you've used your stamps with your paper crafting, then clean your stamps with white distilled vinegar, or clean it with alcohol. If you need to do it that, then come back with the vinegar. Don't use a whole bunch of alcohol, because the alcohol can dry out the stamp, and you don't want that to, you don't want it to dry out, because it'll turn brittle on you. Okay. I left these with colors on them from earlier, because I was testing some of these stamps that I'd never used. And sometimes if you let some color dry on there, they're going to stamp better the next time. Okay. So, and this is one of them that we sell on the website. Like, here's a pumpkin, and these are flexible, which is really nice, because I did one, I'll show you in a minute, and there was a divot in the stamp and I couldn't get a full impression. So keep that in mind. Really check out your stamps when you're buying them, to make sure, which I did not on that particular one. And I'll show you. This one is a gray one. And right here in the tree, I don't know that it's visible, but it's a dip in it. So that part didn't transfer to my stamp, or to my glass. And I'll show you that piece. Okay. So this portion of the tree didn't transfer. So guess how I fixed that? I took and I can't find my toothpick. I took a toothpick and I just came in with the color, and I'm going to put some of the color on this one. I used, I have to tilt that light a little bit, and I don't know if that's gonna, So I used 152 CC 152 deep cerulean. Shake it up. If that's too dark and you guys can't see it, I'll turn the light back. But I get when I'm working on glass here and trying to video, you get a glare. Okay, so I just took a toothpick, cheap tool, put some of the same color, and then I came in and I kind of drew the line in. Okay, I'm going to paint different portions and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. But I thought that was kind of cool that I could do that. And then you can come back and you can scratch off any excess and you can make it look like the rest of it. Okay, so that's what I did there. So that stamp, it has a low spot. If I put, I don't know if you can see it. No, it's too dark. Anyway, it has a low spot there. But I thought I'll do this monochromatic. So let me set this one aside and I'll stamp one for you and show you what it's going to look like. And then I'll just wipe it off. Okay, so let's do this one. I'm going to put my 152 out. And again, you can use a roller or you can use the sponge. I think I'll do the roller. So I've got it just here in the middle of my little palette. You could put it out on a tile, you put it out on a piece of glass, and I'm going to saturate it and really, if you don't have enough on the roller, then you're not going to get a good impression also. Okay. And then just roll over the top. And I like to roll in different directions so that it catches. Am I sifting over the thin fire as well? Yes, I am, Britt. Absolutely. Because it needs the oxygen and it needs to be able to burn, you know, when it turns black and the smoke. Have you ever been near your kiln when it's firing? So there is a little bit of a smoky residue. So yes, you need to sift over it. And I have like a quick reference guide out on, I think you just got on the glass page this last week or so. So go into the guides. We have a guide section and go to color concentrates on glass and you'll be able to find that PDF, or you can find it on the CC Enhancer page on the website if you're not on the group. Okay, if you are not on the group and you have bought the products for glass, you need to ask to join, but you need to also answer those questions. If you don't answer the questions, you're not going to get in. All right, I can't stand up with the cameras, so I'm just going to kind of eyeball this and put it down and then really push. See, that's the nice thing about the flexible ones, because you can feel the pressure that you're putting. Also, if you're on 90 glass, I would probably fire it and get it smooth before I stamped, because the 96 has definitely a smoother surface, and I have a schedule for that also in the files. Okay, see that area? I told you there's a divot there. It's like it's lower, so something's wrong with the back. I could probably peel this off of the block and use it, but let me hold that up so you can see it. See that? So there's a whole area there. So all I did earlier was just take my toothpick, if I can get a hold of it, and I just kind of went into what I had there and started drawing. Now you could use your quill pen if you wanted. Can I join the Facebook group before I buy? Typically, we don't let anybody on there until they have purchased. Why don't you message me, Lynn, on Facebook, okay? And we'll talk. There's a lot of information here on YouTube videos. There's tons of stuff on the blog, on the website, colorsforearth.com. So see, you can just draw in what you need. If there's just a line missing, like over here on the side, you can put that in. And then if there's something too big, you can just scratch it off also with that. You can also take Q-tips, and if you'll get the pointed Q-tips, they're easier and you can get in tighter spaces, you know, if there's something you want to remove. Okay, so like down here where it kind of had a blurred image, I could come in with the not toothpick, the Q-tip, and I can scratch that off when it dries. So there's always a way to fix things, okay? Don't think I wiped off so many things earlier. Like I said, I was testing out these different stamps and because you can see the difference in the rubber. This is like a really light pink. This one I think is really old. So it may be just something that's changed over the years. But again, you can roll it on and then just stamp. You know, and your glass may have an imperfection where it's got a low spot. So keep that in mind also. Okay, so when I was doing, this is a really cute one. I thought, oh, wouldn't that make a nice piece of jewelry? Which I did it multiple times, okay, which you can see by these. But look what happened. I really like this ornate, it almost makes it look like lace. It's actually the section when I lifted the stamp that made all those other little impressions, because see, it should be solid, but I kind of like that. It makes it look like lace behind it. And I'm going to accent this with some gold or silver. We'll do some different things to give you some ideas, but isn't that cool? I really like that. Now, one of the other important things when you're doing stamping is you need to make sure that you start in the middle of your piece, your glass. Okay, so when I did this one, I started in the middle, and then I could see, because this is nice and close to the edge, with our stamps that we sell that are like this, mine have a handle on it, which is nice because you can put it down and kind of rock it and feel it, where these, yeah, they have a little bit of a grip, but sometimes it's hard to get it off of there. So this happens to be some of our Christmas ones. It's like a pine bough and pine cones. And I think, yeah, there's that one there. Let me turn this over so you can see it. We have this set of Christmas stamps, or you can buy them individually also. We have cookies with that gingerbread, and they all have like the handles on them. But then we do carry the ones that are like this, that the potters like to use because they can go around a surface with those. Okay, so start in the center and then work out. So I did one. Let's see if I've got another piece of glass. We can do it then. Show you how I accomplished that. Because sometimes it's the simplest things that people don't understand. And I take for granted that I know it. So that's why I'm telling you to start in the middle. Okay. And again, I'm not standing up to see this, so I'm taking a guess. And you get a little bit of a section. So hold your glass down when you pull up. I'm going to reapply. And I'm going in different directions to make sure the contour of the image I get absolutely covered. Okay, so then I'm going to look, I've got a point here, and I can line up a point in the middle and kind of do a corner, rock it a little bit, lift. Now I still have, you can see that this part is been used, that has not. So I can go around the corners until I've used up all of that, and I don't have to reapply my color. Okay, and then I would have to add some because I've done all of those. Okay, so that's how I accomplished that. Pretty cool. And then I just take a paper towel, and you can just blot off the color, wipe it with a damp sponge to clean it. These, where they don't have the wood, you can just put them in the sink and spray them with the sprayer, or you can drop them in water, and I've never had any problems with the backs peeling off of them or anything. And they've been in water for quite some time. Okay. All right, so that's how I did that. So here's one. This is, a lot of my stamps are older. This is a Christmas one. It's called the Ornament Trio, in case you want to try to look for it. It's just a fun one. And again, it's by Stampabilities. And I think this is Hobby Lobby, if I remember right. That's where I used to get them when they're on sale, you know. That's the fun thing to do. Okay, so let's just add some color to this. So I've got mixed up some gold sparkle. This is the, again, my labels are terrible. GS 503 gold sparkle enamel. It's a powder. Okay, it's a powder. And I put it in, I'll mix another color in a minute, into one of my paint wells. And then I mixed it with the GM 300 glass medium. So I put a few drops in, mixed it up with my tool, and just continued mixing until I got a nice liquid. There's other videos talking about how thick and thin they need to be. So keep that in mind. We have a set of dotting tools. This is 2 of them. So you can see there's a larger dot and a smaller. I think there's a set of 3. So I'm going to take the larger one. This is the number 2. And I'm going to use this to apply color, because if you only have this and you didn't have a brush, this, I'm going to show you how to do it. Okay. Can you use a brush? Absolutely. But if I want, and I'm going to come in just a little bit closer. If I want that area to be covered, now, if you only had color concentrates, you can do that also the same way. We'll add some red on one of these, but I'm just basically taking the tool and letting it glide around on the glass, coloring in that area. When I see the glass, because it's not covering, I get more on my tool. So touch it and then pull right, pull left. Okay. So this is the enamels that I'm using. Now, the sparkle cannot be capped until after it's been fired the first time, with the exception of copper sparkle. Copper sparkle, the GS 502 can be capped and it holds, but the other 3 need to be fired, and then you can cap them to make them food safe, because they're textured a little bit depending on how hot you go. Lynn is asking, can you paint the glass with CFE, fire it, then stamp? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So if you didn't have a colored piece of glass and you wanted to color your glass basically with the enamel, if you want to do a watercolor background, I have a video out there for that. And there's a couple of color concentrate ones showing you how to do that also. So this is pulled and puddled on. Can you see it? But isn't that cool? And maybe, let's say I want gold dots over here amongst these little curls. Just to make it fun. Now, did you notice I'm going over here every single time that I dot? Okay, does anybody know why I do that? Who can answer that question? Hey, Margie. Fun for the holidays. Absolutely. I hope your knee is doing well. Margie had knee surgery. Thanks for joining. So you could come over here. Margie, you can't answer that question, by the way. So why am I going back to my palette and picking up enamel every time I dot? Anybody know the reason why? So that the dots are the same size. Marlene, perfect. That is correct. That is correct. I tell you what, Marlene, you message me on Facebook and you get to pick out a pattern pack of your choice at $12.95 or less. Okay. See what happens when I ask questions? All right. So yes, if I did not load it every time, I'll show you on this blank, they would be smaller. So if you just keep going, there's less on your tool and they become smaller. We call those graduated dots. Now, do you have to have a dotting tool? Absolutely not. But if you have them, make use of them. You can use the handle of a brush. Make sure you check out the handle, how large it is, because that's how large your dots are going to be. Okay. You're welcome, Marlene. Okay. All right. So there's a way of, you could keep it very simplistic. And maybe let's say that we want to put gold inside some of the top, the ornament caps. So I'm going to switch to the number 1 size. It's tinier. You could also use a toothpick for this too. So I'm going to get some on my tool, kind of tap off the excess, and I can come over here and I could add, I think the tool is going to be too big. So I'm going to go to the toothpick because I can get a nice point on that. And let's try that. Maybe we'll just accent a little bit here and there. I'm just going to kind of tap it on. See if I can get it on the side where you can kind of see. So easy. You could leave it just as simple as that. Whoop, didn't have any on there. The toothpick being wood, it does absorb the product. So keep that in mind. And remember, what goes on your tool, your brush, last comes off first. So you'll have to keep adding. But isn't that fun? Cute, cute. I like that. All right, I'm going to turn this around. So don't limit yourself. Like I said, your imagination is your limitation. And you may say, Paula, I'm not a painter. I can't paint like you. Well, do this. Stamp. Color it in. Just do color book. As you do things and keep trying things, you will learn how to do other things. And the more you do, the better you get at it. Okay. They get smaller. Yes, Britt. So as you dot, there's less paint or product on your handle, your dotting tool. So there's less that comes off of it. And this applies to acrylic, ceramic, I mean, any medium you want to work in. Doesn't matter. Okay. So I think I'll just leave that one like that. I was going to put some red. Well, I may put some red. Let's let that dry for a minute. Okay, so if you wanted to add some to this piece, remember this is this look, okay? So there's some curly cues. Well, maybe I want to do those. Let's stir that up a little bit. Wipe off my tool. Maybe I want to try, that may be too much. How about if I can just add a dot at the top. Okay, so just very simple. I'm going to turn this back down for a little bit of light so you can see that gold. Okay, now the fun thing is I could create a design, and I'm going to go back to I had the smaller one. I'm going to go back to the number 2. And maybe let's continue the line or the string. So maybe I'm going to start up here and I'm just going to keep going. Fun, fun. So this can be a piece of jewelry. Now this one's I'm gonna run out before I get there. So when I do that, I can come over here and load, and I can tap off a few times and then go back over here so that I don't get this large area in the middle of it getting smaller. Does that make sense? Hopefully. What is the best one to use for stamping the outline? Lynn says, it depends on how dark you want it. If you've only got color concentrates, then use that for stamping. That's what I used on the blues, the black. That's what the black was here on these. Okay. And I got a nice line. Okay. But you can use designers. So if you only, oh, good. Just laid my towel. If you've only got the designers, you could stamp with those. And these are a non-enamel also. pure pigment, really, really super strong as far as the outline. I like these also. And in a couple of the other videos, I've done a little bit of both of them. I'm not going to go into designers tonight. I'm just going to stick with color concentrates. Okay. Hopefully that helps. What is the best one? Okay. I think you meant black or white. It says bleach. Don't use the outline black and white for the enamels. That's already a liquid, but you can't fuse that between glass. So either color concentrate or designers. Okay. You could use the silk screen black and mix it up and use it also. So any of those. So I need to finish. I started like a spreadsheet of what you could do with everything, and I need to finish that soon. Yeah, when I have some spare time, right? Okay, so I'm getting my liner brush. I'm going to use the 3600 number 2 Kolinsky liner, and I'm going to add a little bit of the scrolly look. So I'm loading that liner, and I'm going to pull off some of it so I can have a nice point, and I'm going to attempt to maybe add a little bit of that curl. It'll be very subtle, nothing very strong at all. And I'll give you a close-up of it in 2 seconds. So if I wanted more on this one, turn it. Isn't that pretty? What do you think of that? Nice. Okay, so I just tried to kind of match a little bit of that pattern. I could have scraped out some of this with the toothpick if I wanted. So I could come in here because you got like a section, like I said, from the glass. And you could come in and you can scratch out some of the areas if you wanted it a little more open or not. Hey, Eileen, how are you, stranger? I bet it's warmer in Arizona. It was 81 degrees here today in Fort Worth. It was insane, insane. Okay, so there's a way you can do that. You can come back like this one I stamped with the 152, okay, which is what I was using here. I could come back, oh, I've got some out here, and actually fill in. See if I can get some of this on my brush. It's already kind of dry. I had just literally had to turn on the air conditioner right before I came on. I was so hot in here, which that's crazy considering tomorrow I think it's only supposed to be 50 or something. Supposed to get down to 30 something from one extreme to the other, and that's why I was sick a week ago. All right, so I can start here, press down to make a little bit larger stroke. This is hard to do when it's up in the air, and then pull it around. I'm gonna have to sit it down. It's hard to paint when you're up. But see, you could come back and just add, and maybe I want to add the tops of them. So make it fun. And if you had a more open design, you could do a lot like with a plate. These are something that's fairly quick. And I just thought, you know, right before Christmas, if you had a gift you needed to do, oh shoot, the stamping would definitely be an easy and simple way. If you don't have any of the products currently, right now we're getting orders out within a 3-day period. So, okay, so Eddie, Lynn says 50, upper 50s in St. Louis, 30s tomorrow. Yeah, see, that's what we're supposed to do. And I haven't heard if all those strong storms hit over, wasn't it supposed to be Alabama, Tennessee, somewhere. I'm hoping for 40 sometime this week. Maybe I can run the kiln. Yeah, that makes a difference. I heard Jessica saying that if it's too cold, 12 degrees. Wow. Adorable gift tags. There you go. Yeah, they would. You could fire them, drill a hole. And, you know, with the color concentrates and the enamels, as long as you go to 1380, you should be good to go. Now, one of the other questions was, somebody asked me, after they're fired, if you don't sift over them, will they scratch off? Okay. They could if you took like a metal tool and really worked at it. But remember, the color concentrates and the designers are not food safe unless you cap them. Okay. Keep that in mind. So if you wanted to do, say, this pine cone, let me get it where it's not in the light. There we go. Hey, Teresa, how are you? Perfect timing. Teacher gifts. There you go. And I think you have some concentrates. So if you wanted this to be a gold pine cone, I can just come in and I can put dots in the middle of each one of those little sections. And I'm not doing a good job, but I will show you some of those. Let me turn this over. So you could put little dots to create the, instead of brown, make it festive. Put the gold, or you could put the copper sparkle. And then you could come back in with some greens, or you could stamp it in green and then just do that. That would work great. That would work great. So let me put this out of the way because I want to show you some on that. All right, so you see the ornament. I think those are really cool. It's a little bit large. This is probably 1.5 by 2. And I'm not gonna, if I just used it single and fired it, it would shrink up a little bit. So it's a bigger piece, but not too bad. All right, I'm gonna put out some of the darker green. This is the 162 Laurel Green. And I am going to grab that pine bough. I'm going to do it on a larger piece so that you can see it. And I'm just going to use, yeah, this one, Pouncer. So load it up really well and really work it into it. Just don't sit and do it 1 or 2 times. I'm getting that product into the sponge so I can get a nice coverage. And then I'm just going to tap on the surface until I see it glisten or look wet. See how it kind of shimmers. Quickly move that over and press down, a little bit of a wiggle and lift. Okay. So then I can come in with the enamel if I wanted to, and that's way too much on there. Clean that toothpick off. Or you can do a liner. I think it's very windy outside. I can hear things moving around while I'm sitting back here. So if you hear a thumping, that's what it is. But isn't that cool? So you can just add those dots, kind of make it up as you go if you can't see it, like I did. And then you could come back with your liner brush, that 3600, and you could grab some of the enamel, the copper sparkle, and you could maybe do like the center, the stem, the branch of those. Just a little accent. Now, you could do the same thing on ceramics, not with the enamel. You would use ceramic products, the CCs or the CSs, either one. I would stamp with CCs. And I was going to bring a bisque ornament out here and show you, but anyway, I didn't. Okay. Not fun. Can you paint with Wisma's Irid, or is that not recommended? You know, every time somebody asks me that, I always forget. I don't use Irid. I want to say it has to be face down. If you will message me, Lynn, I will look at my notes. I don't want to get into my phone right now, but and actually, once you're on the group, just do a search for the keyword Irid. I think Wisma is faced is, I don't know what, I think it redid your words, Eileen. It says died face down. Not fired face down. Okay, that's what I was thinking. See, I don't use Irid, so thank you for that. And you can use the products face down. If it's the enamels, it will have a matte finish, which your concentrates are going to have a matte finish anyway, so that won't matter. Okay, I want to show you a fun way that I did another piece here. I stamped it with a big stamp. Okay, and then I thought, well, how fun would it be to add the glittery look to it, right? So I'm going to show you how easy. You do not have to know brush strokes to do this. Okay, you're ready for this? It's so simple. So simple. I'm going to use the handle of the brush. I'm going to pick up some of that enamel and I'm going to sit it down and pull it. And look at that. You got a comma stroke. After it's dried, Lynn, you want to, she's asking about putting it face down. So wait till it's dried and then you can put it face down. Okay. It'll just have a matte finish to it because it's up against the thin fire or papyrus. So that will make it, you can flip it over and then you can add a piece of glass over it. You know, there's always. I love that trick. Do you? It's pretty fun. I did this at retreat a few years ago on one of my, it's called Christmas Package, I think is the pattern pack. And I did this on white glass, which was really cool. But isn't that fun? I mean, so easy. Let's add another one here. So I could keep going with it, okay? But I wanted to show, I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but I'm trying to show you some really quick tips and tricks that you can use on anything. Hey, Sherry, how are you? Awesome. Okay, I'm going back to my dotting tool and I'm gonna fill in my star just by basically flooding it, but I'm using the tool to move my color as opposed to the brush. You could do either or. Use what you've got. Just know that you're not limited to one thing. There's always more than one way to do something. Or what do they say? More than one way to, I won't say it. I won't say that. Kim will get mad at me. Okay, so then you could come in here and do, so keep it, I mean, it can be very simple, just kind of like that ornament one that I did. And you can just fill in just bits and pieces. You don't have to do the whole thing. You don't have to be a good painter. This is start simple and work your way up to the other things. And Teresa Berger, this is great for the kids. You know, they can stamp. You may have to wipe it off a couple of times. I don't know if you saw at the beginning, I have been leaving some of my color on my stamps to dry. I feel like I get a better impression. So you may need to like put the color on, stamp it off on a paper towel, stamp it on a piece of glass, wipe it off, do it a couple of times. It's like conditioning the stamp, I guess would be the best way to think of it. And it gives it a little bit of tack. And different rubber on the stamps react differently. So you may find one thing works better than another. Trying to find all the same elements here. So see, that's beautiful. Now this, when I pulled this piece out, this was actually an etched piece of glass. Can you see that in the how it kind of is glossy and matte? Did it really make a difference when I stamped? Not really, but it could have been the stamp. This is that hard rubber. It's a little bit darker. See that one's, it may be the same color, a little bit lighter. So there's different ones out there. And one of my other videos that I did, was it 2 weeks ago, I did my cabbage roses on that ceramic piece where we have the rose and the leaf. So there's all kinds of fun things that you can do with it. All right, so I'm going to switch this out and I'm going to show you what my plan was for this real quick. Okay, so I stamped it with 152 deep cerulean. My 3 favorite colors, the ceruleans. Imagine that. Is that foam from a stamp? This, yes, it's right here. We did one earlier in the video. Okay, so it was a stamp, but there's a low spot in here, Sherry, and it didn't take. Oh, this is not the one I want. I want my good ones. So see how it didn't take up here in the corner? So what I did was I came in and I drew with the toothpick with the same color I stamped with and drew it in to give the illusion that it was there. Okay, so this one is 151 cerulean, and maybe I want some 150 light cerulean. Shake those up. And you don't need very much of it at all. I did use the brush when I was working on this one. So take just a little bit of the cerulean, the 151. And I did the 2 trees. If I wanted, I could come up here. And I think I'm close enough that you can see this, okay? And it's just a very, very thin coat. It doesn't have to be thick. Need to get more on my brush. So it depends on how solid you want it. But it's a fun way. And the reason I have this on a paper towel, because guess what? I have a surprise on the back. I stamped that snowflake stamp on the back. So you could do that if it's on the bottom of a dish, perfectly fine. As long as it's not on the top, because it won't be covered with fritz. So, but see how it's just a thin application? And then maybe, let's come over here and just do a couple of these in the background. I may have to do that whole, because they're all connected. Very thin. I'm not being real perfect. What is the trick to not smudging the stamp pattern? Good question. It is so perfect. No, this is not real perfect. Believe it or not. There is some smudging here, or I've cleaned it up with a toothpick after it dries. Okay, Lynn. Like I said, leaving that color on the stamp seemed to help. Remember, I just left it on there, so that seemed to work really good. It helps kind of condition that. And there was another stamp I wanted to use. I could not get this one to stamp at all, and that's a different color of rubber. So it could just be that it's an older rubber and it just doesn't react the same, you know. So you could do every other one. You wouldn't have to do, and you know, I could come in here and just kind of muddle this on where it kind of has, I wanted to keep it monochromatic, meaning all one color. Okay, no matter what was going on with it. Okay, so I'm going to go to the tool, and there's a reason why. I was covering a large area. I wanted it soft looking, but on the scarf, I want it to be a little, it'll just be easier, and you'll see here. So I'm just starting in the middle, and I pulled or stretched the color to the edge of that area. I'm going to skip one. This is the 152 deep cerulean, the same color that I stamped with, but I'm applying it in a different manner, so it looks like it's a completely different color. And I would just go, and this is kind of what I did on that large piece that I opened with and showed you. I put the 3 ceruleans on that. Constantly wipe off your chip because you start getting a lot on there, and then it'll go outside of your line. And this again is the #1 tool that I'm using. You could use a toothpick if it gets too small and you don't think you can get in there. The joy, love, peace tree is perfect. Yeah, that's kind of, I mean, simple. And I don't remember, let me see if it has on there. It's a recollection. So Christmas, Noel, $14.99 was the retail. I never pay full price. So I think that again is a Hobby Lobby find. So check out the sales, scrapbooking area. You can find a lot of tools in scrapbooking. I use that for some of my ornaments. I don't stamp on them, but I use scrapbooking products. All right. Isn't that cute? I think that'll make a cute little dish. And what I'll probably do on this one is I'll find a blue, not anything like this dark blue because it won't match the cerulean, but I'll find a blue that matches and make it slightly larger, or I'll end up just putting clear over the top, one or the other. Fun, fun. Any questions on that? So the smudge, again, Lynn, if you stand up and you stand over it and apply pressure, where I'm sitting down here, it's hard to get it, and give it just a tiny bit of a rock, right and left, top and bottom, and that seems to help. But sometimes it's just an imperfection in the stamp. So see that one after it's dried? Isn't that fun? So you could leave it just like that. That would be a great little piece. And you can even stamp, if it's a continuous pattern like the snowflakes, you could take a 6x6 or an odd piece, whatever you've got, stamp it all over it, start in the middle, work your way out, and then fire it to 1380, come back and cut it up and use it in whatever you want. Make a collage type thing out of it. Then you can cut your jewelry and you don't have to worry about being exact. Okay, so think about that. I have loads of stamps, use them. Okay, so just clean them well, Lynn. Clean your stamps with the white distilled vinegar or with alcohol, but just be careful not to use the alcohol, but just that one time. I try to keep them separate if I'm doing these versus like card making or on canvases, that kind of thing. I have different ones that I use for that. And I just put 2 colors on my brush instead of 1. I want to use some silver with this. So I'm going to come over here and fill in this side. Sorry, sometimes I stop talking when I'm doing so that I don't mess it up. I'm concentrating. You're so excited to incorporate them. Yeah, and guys, right now, I still have that discount code you can still use. I think it's through the end of the month, through the end of November. So do it quickly. And if it's something that's already on sale, you use one code. And if it's not on sale, you use the other. You do have to make 2 separate orders, and then I can refund you the difference. And if you're watching this, this is, what is today? I don't even know. This is November 29th, 2022. So if you're watching this at a different time, those coupons are probably not good. They're on my Facebook page. They're at the top of the Colors for Earth Facebook page and the glass page. Me too. It's so great to be able to use all of the craft stuff. Yeah, both ceramic and glass. Absolutely. And I've done that for years. Okay, so since we have this here, we need to balance it out. So watch what I'm going to do here. I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to create a line. And then I'm going to start here and I'm going to go up. So I wanted to balance that out a little bit. And I'm going to come in here and go like that. So hopefully this gives you, look at this. This is going to be so cute. Who's going to win this piece? I may not want to give this away. Who's going to win? Better be commenting. Comment, comment, comment. We don't have Jenny to spend tonight, but I will try to do it. We'll see if I can do it without messing things up. Okay, and then maybe I want, and I'll come back and I'll add some other stuff to this. Maybe that's too big. We gotta go to the smaller one for the holly berries. So maybe someone doesn't like green and red. Well, guess what? Do them in a color, do like I'm doing, monochromatic. Do it in a color that they might like. But wouldn't that be the cutest little dish on the end table with some candy in it? What do you think, guys? You like that? Me, please, Eddie. That's funny. Whoever won 2 weeks ago, they still haven't. Now the finished piece, I have their name, but the other person never contacted me. Okay, so if you're on here and you come back, you need to make sure that you listen. Okay, so let's do something at the top that's going to mimic similar. And what happened? I used my small tool instead of my large. So it's a different size, which is okay. I'm going to turn this around. You make it look so easy, Linda says. Well, but this is pretty simple. I mean, I stamped it. Everybody says, oh, your line work. No, I stamped it. I didn't do anything to this. Okay, so I'm just pulling it. Are you watching how slow? I'm going pretty slow so that I can drag that color with me. So don't try to, if you go real fast, you'll get a fine tail, which is okay. That's all right. So what I'm trying to do is just pull in something similar to the bottom. And let's do maybe a dot there. So you just kind of sometimes got to stop and think about it. You can always practice on another piece before you go to this, but see how that kind of frames it. And then if I wanted, maybe like I'll have to do his other part of his scarf, but if I wanted his earmuff to be the lighter blue, I could come in here just with a thin, almost like a wash, but you don't want to add water because it'll just run. Okay, so made that there. Let me see that. And maybe, I don't know, his mitten. Well, I hope this gives you some ideas. Hopefully it clarifies that you can stamp directly on the glass. You don't have to etch it, but you can. If you have a sandblaster, you can sandblast and then stamp. It just gives you a smoother surface and something for it to grab to is what it does. But as you've seen on all of these, I didn't have to have it sandblasted. Okay. Any last questions? I've been on about an hour. I'm going to try to keep these shorter. You like the monochromatic tone? It is kind of, yeah. There's just so many. I mean, think about the reds you could use, or even in yellows. But for winter, definitely the blues. You could go with the 143 sapphire and throw in the 144 powder blue and the blueberry. I mean, there's so many different ways you can do it. This is the 150 over here that I've got. I'm going to do like the holly with the 150. So it'll be a little bit lighter. And I'm doing it light enough that the lines from the stamping will show through. I think you can just barely see those. Okay. Oh, you know what? I just thought of something else. See, that's the problem. I keep going and going and going, and I need to just stop. I want to see, I'm going to do a little swish across the bottom. I think that will be cool. All right, guys. So let's just look at these one more time. So this was just the CC 101 black. And I had gold sparkle 503. We have different sparkles. You know what? I am going to probably put some silver sparkle on this. I might do that like on the tree and maybe a little bit in the snow areas. That would be fun to do also. And I probably should add some, since I have this up here, it probably would be a good idea if I added some of this in other places. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It's going to just look like a mound of snow. And maybe a little bit down here on this one. And I'm not even worrying about the brush strokes or anything. I'm going to go ahead and fill in that bottom area since it's sectioned off. No, I don't want to do up there because that's going to run into that other. That you could, you could do your house. You could just keep going. Going and going and going. All right, guys. Can you stamp, then sift a light coat of enamel powder over it? Teresa, go back and look at the Versamark video that I did. It's been a while back, and I actually have a piece here. So let me pull out a piece of white glass. So this was stamped with enamel. Okay, actually it was stamped on the back side. Okay, or the front. No, it was on the front. This was actually 343 sapphire blue. I stamped it with Versamark, and then I sifted the enamel and brushed off the excess. So go back and look at that video because I do show you how you can use it, but it's very, very soft. You do not get the intensity that you get with your color concentrates. And I know you just got some of those not that long ago, but yes, it can be done. Absolutely. And there's another trick to doing it too. If you use Jennifer Joy, and then I came back with enamels here that I started painting. I haven't fired this. I stopped. Okay. Jennifer Joy's product that we sell, you can use her stamping medium with the enamels, and it works really well. It works better than the Versamark. So there's multiple ways. It just depends on the look that you want to get. Thank you, Eileen. I'm glad you like those. Okay, so there's that one. You've seen these. You learned how to do dot patterns. You can accent those other ones. And then you can accent that big stamp. If you wanted this solid black and not, it's like that little bit of suction that you get, which you're going to have because of what you're stamping on. It's a non-porous surface. So the color has to go somewhere. It can't go into the glass, so it has to go somewhere. Okay, you could go back over this with black and a brush. Absolutely, you could. You're excited. Awesome. That's good. I like that. Always give us such great ideas. I wish I had more time to paint and not have to work. Yeah, well, got to pay the bills, right? All right, let me switch my camera back. If I can get my mouse to work. And I will spin the wheel. Okay, we should be. All right. Hi there. See all those ornaments behind me? You know what I'm going to do tonight? Oh my gosh. This is done with our paste, which I did a few weeks back. I'm going to give away this ornament. How about that? All right. So let me go over to the comments. Trying to do two things at once. and see if I can spin it. Go up and down and stop. Well, Eddie, looky there. Do you think this will survive the frozen tundra up there in the north? All right. I believe I have your address, but if I don't, I will send you this ornament. It's got the bling that I was talking about. See the bling on the ones behind me? That's from the scrapbooking department. And I have 2 or 3 videos on how to do those. This just happens to have our product on it, which is in a no fire state, which you could do on glass too. You can use the same thing. And look at this one. Is that cool? This is a big one compared to this. This one's mine, the purple one. All right, guys. All right, so Eddie wins the ornament. Let's spin one more time for another technique packet. And you have to know, you'd have to get with me, because if you don't, then I have no way of getting it to you. All right, and I just stopped on Lynn. There you go. So Lynn, you can go to the website, colorsforearth.com, and at the top of the blue bar, it says education, and I think it says learn here, and go to the technique packets, and search for the downloadable ones. I don't have everything downloadable, but if you find one that's not that you like, let me know and I'll change it on the website. I'm trying to switch everything over to downloads instead of paper copy. Okay. All right, guys, thanks for joining me. And sorry about the rough start at the beginning. And I will see you next time. I'll check for any comments. Okay. All right, guys. Thanks. Have a good evening. See you next week. Bye.